What is up, guys? Jesse504 here, bringing you my analysis for the LBT Legend Battle 2 League. It is a post-DLC Ubers League that I made just because I wanted to, pretty much, for the experience of it. So, Ubers League means that a lot of Pokemon are allowed here that aren't normally allowed. Very minimal ban list, has like the Primals, Mega Rayquaza, Mega Mewtwo, stuff like that. But other than that, it's pretty free. So, definitely just mons that I wouldn't get to use otherwise, and that's kind of why they're here. And up first, I decided, so I picked at number 10 out of 12, which was pretty late, but it let me grab mons that, and I could sit on other mons, wait to grab my Ubers until I felt like, yeah, this is the right team for them. So up first, I just got Cinderace. I feel like it's a very viable Pokemon, even in Ubers, because it has that 119 base speed, 116 base attack. It is allowed access to its Libero ability, meaning that it can just change type to have stab no matter what. This thing is very versatile. That move Court Change just allows it to just move hazards around, so I don't need to be as conscious about picking up rockers, picking up defoggers. Cinderace just does it for me. Great user of the heavy-duty boots. 119 base speed is pretty unique, and it allows me to not have to run full speed investment every week because it's not like I'll be tying anything. I don't need to run it. So even just a little bit in HP defense or special defense brings its meh defenses up to somewhat usable. Pretty good life orb set, pretty good choice set, and obviously heavy-duty boots if it wants to go for the hazard control option. So I felt like Tier 2 Cinderace could just back up whatever my team wanted, and it's like a backbone that can come every week. And up next, I decided to grab Mega Gengar as my Mega. Not a Mega that I was ever going to use otherwise. 130 base speed, 170 base special attack is crazy. Shadow Tag ability lets me get rid of most things that this is super fight against. Lets me get rid of like all Psychics, all Ghosts, all Fairies, which is really important. And so it forces my opponents to waste an item slot on the Shed Shell if they want to be able to get out of Mega Gengar's trap. And even so, even if they're scared enough to run a Shed Shell, it means that, yeah, they would either be stuck in against me without anything to do, or they can switch out, but I can get up a free Nasty Plot that Gengar has now, which is massive. 170 base special attack Nasty Plot just hits like a truck, and it's really good at just removing threats. However, it does share a ground weakness with Cinderace, which was something that I was definitely looking at for the rest of the draft. And up next, I decided to grab Kirin Black. 125 base HP, 170 base attack, 95 base speed. So this thing is bulky, and it hits like a truck. Got access to Icicle Spear this generation, which is pretty much Ice Punch. It can be worse. Focus Ashes won't work. Abilities like Sturdy won't work because of Terrible. And then 95 base speed is good, but give it Dragon Dance and it'll go much faster. Dragon Stab, Ice Stab, Electric coverage. It can run Freeze Dry or Earth Power if it has to for coverage. So Kirin Black, definitely a mon that just works well. However, doesn't really help that ground weakness. But what it is a mon that doesn't like fairies, and Gengar gets rid of them. And so up next, I decided to grab Landorus Incarnate, another Pokemon that is normally fine in Draft League, but because it's Ubers League, it means that it does get its ability back. So get that Sheer Force ability back to be specific. So grabbing it as a Tier 2 felt like a steal for me. 101 base speed, 125 attack, 115 special attack. Can hit hard from either side. Life Orb plus Sheer Force means no Life Orb damage, which is really strong. It basically hides my item, even though I'm sure they'll figure that I'm Life Orb. 101 base speed is really nice because it allows me to outspeed all those base 100s, force them into Scarf sets if they even want to outspeed. The move pool is a little bit shallow, but it doesn't really need too much. It gets ground plus U-turn plus not that much more, but it can be a Stealth Rock or it can be a Defogger. Just do what I needed to do, not to mention that ground immunity. And not being weak to rock while it is a ground immunity is especially solid. So up next, my draft plan kind of hit a brick wall. I didn't really know where to go from here. So I decided I'd just sit on like my Tier 3s, my other remaining Uber for a little bit. And I just grabbed Marina. This is a Mon that is crazy good. 80 HP, 74 attack or defense, but 126 special attack, 116 speed def is nice. And let me tell you, Marina really helps out my team because it is just a super strong special attacker that backs up that Mega Gengar. But unlike Mega Gengar, it can get rid of those dark types, which would normally trouble my Mega Gengar, which makes a good complementary set. And in addition, it even doubles down on like you're gonna need a shed shell because this thing can whirl trap, which is really nice, and just get rid of any one thing with Perish Song pretty much. Just like Rest, Whirlpool, Perish Song, and like Moonblast or something. Just something that'll be able to get rid of any one mon barring a shed shell. So that's a nice niche for Marina. And so again, didn't really know where to go from here, but I knew that ground resist would be nice. Shaymin. Of course, this thing I have it in JLPC as well. It's performed very well there. Hundreds all around. Really solid. Can just do what I needed to do. Can be a very solid cleric, and that's something that helps out. Can just seed flare, and that hits hard. It can just help out the team. It can synthesis. It can even be like super offensive with the 100 base attack or base special attack and can hit hard. Can seed flare move makes it able to just do a lot and lower stats if I hit, and it is fairly accurate. So just hopefully that this Shaymin will hit more than the other Shaymin. And at this point, so I was torn on my last pick between Shaymin and Celebi. Celebi obviously would give me a psychic typing, but at this point most of the Ubers remaining were psychic type, especially the one that I decided to grab right now, and this is why I decided to go Shaymin over Celebi. Or no, that was later. I grabbed Buzzwole first. 107 HP, 139 attack, 139 defense. So at this point, yeah, I already knew which Uber I was getting. I decided to grab Buzzwole because I feared it might get sniped in the few picks. This thing, another strong ground resist, which helps out the team, plus helps out the Uber that I'm grabbing next. It's fighting type, so it's a bug type that's not weak to rocks. Got access to close combat this generation, makes it really strong. And Beast Boost makes it able to grow its attacking prowess after every single kill. So it's effectively got Moxie. And so this thing, I like it as a Scarf. I feel like this is Buzzwole. It needs a pretty good team comp around it, and I feel like I gave it that team comp it needs to succeed. So now getting to the Uber that I picked. So Gallio. So this thing is just strong on that physical side. 137 base attack, 137 base HP. Solid defense. It got access to some new moves this generation. Not sure which one's off the top of my head, but it does have access to that Sunseal Strike and Close Combat and Psychic Fangs. So just strong stab plus close combat. It can heal with Morning Sun reliably. Additionally, that 97 base speed is nice because it kind of pushes Mons. Like, they have to run, like, at base 100, my team pretty much traps you into running full speed investment because of that Landorus and Gallio, obviously, and it also lets Shaymin not have to run speed to pressure those base 100 speeds. And so even though this is another ground resist from one of my top tier, or ground weakness from one of my top tier threats, I felt like it was a Mon that I had to grab, not to mention at this point the Ubers were kind of getting empty, and like the only ones left weren't necessarily helping my team as much, and this gives me a solid steal, which is for round 8, Solgaleo was a, excuse my pun, steal in the draft. And up next, I decided to get a little crafty, grab Zoroark. So in an Ubers league, Zoroark gets much better because it can come in, it can pretend to be the Mega Gengar, it can pretend to be the Solgaleo, it can pretend to be the Kirin Black, and it can just pretend to do other things. Obviously, it's not the greatest because it can't really pretend to be Cinderace, it can't really pretend to be Mega Gengar because why wouldn't I Mega Evolve? But like forcing something out from like Kirin Black, like fearing that I was going to just click a strong physical move, like Dragon move, only to end up taking a strong like Dark Pulse, or if they're trying to bring in a Fairy on my Kirin Black, just a strong Sludge Bomb. That just really helps my team, and it can just I feel like there isn't really a bad thing for Zoroark to come in as, and that's what really helps my team. Is that whatever Zoroark comes in as, it just does something completely different than Zoroark. It'll throw my opponent out for a loop. So like, yeah, and it can effectively be Gengar, even though it won't be able to Mega Evolve. It's still Gengar's weak to Psychic, so just having this thing that comes in and the Psychic move just doesn't affect it is crazy. So it makes my opponent have to second guess themselves a lot. And up next, I decided to grab my secondary Tier 3. And I really like Tier 3 Ultra Beast because I decided to grab circuitry. So circuitry obviously hits really strong from that special side, something that I felt like I was lacking. So by grabbing circuitry, it kind of just helped out. Tail Glow obviously is an insanely strong move, but it doesn't even need to run it because it has that 173 base special attack. One new tool it got this generation was that Blunder Policy with Hypnosis. Just makes for a crazy set. Obviously hitting Thunderbolts like insanely hard. If I miss the Hypnosis, I get speed, and if I hit it, they're asleep. So it's basically an agility that has 40% or 60% chance instead of giving me the speed to put my opponent to sleep, which is insanely strong. So basically, the circuitry, I might be hoping to miss the Hypnosis at some point this season. Just trying to obviously boost up. There is still a Sleep Clause in Ubers, which, I mean, makes that strategy a little less viable, but it's still viable nonetheless. And even though the coverage isn't that great, and it lost Z moves, it kind of frees it up to either be a Choice Scarf or frees it up to hold that Blunder Policy, which is going to be one of the sets that I feel like I'll bring it when the week is right, when they don't have the strongest ground type, for circuitry to just come in and take advantage of their team. And last but not least, grabbing my last mon, Tier 5, Regirock. Regirock got access to a fantastic new tool this generation in Body Press. That's going to allow it to do some crazy stuff off of that 200 base defense as an attack. It can be a rocker. It can curse up reliably. And it's my slowest thing on the draft at only 50 base speed. But it's a speed tier that I didn't have. And still, at 50 speed, it's crazy. My speed gaps on this team are pretty tight. There isn't a speed gap greater than 20, which makes this team incredibly strong because the biggest speed gap between between Buzzwole and Primarina. So obviously Regirock just comes in weeks. It can be a rocker. It's kind of like in other draft leagues, I like Avalugg a lot. This thing is kind of like Avalugg on steroids, almost, that with that insane 200 base defense. And it can't really spin, but it can set rocks. It can toxic. Doesn't have access to recovery outside of rest, but curse and then like body press sets can be very viable as a late game cleaner, and it can also just be a lead that takes hits and does damage off of body press. So that's my draft. A little bit ground weak is the main concern, but I have Landorus, I have Shaymin, and I have Buzzwole to help take those hits. And I can also deal back extra damage with Primarina and Black Cura. I really enjoy what I have going on so far. I feel like it's a little bit different than what I normally play. I'm normally much more offensive, but this team is still scary offensive. And it packs mons that I really like and mons that I'm excited to show you guys. So this is my league, the Legends Battle 2 League. Gonna have weekly battles, of course. Might do some weekly recaps. And gonna have some power rankings up tomorrow. So if you're excited for those, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And with all that being said, Jesse504 out.